Now, the former tennis star Boris Becker is behind bars this morning after being jailed for 2.5 years for hiding hundreds of thousands of pounds in assets to avoid paying his debts.
The three-time Wimbledon champ was sentenced yesterday after being convicted of 4 charges under the Insolvency Act.
Well, let's talk to Richard Cramer, who's managing partner at the law firm Front Row Legal. Morning to you. I mean, there was a potential of a 7-year sentence for this, wasn't there? I mean, considering he's got 2.5 and he'll be out in half of that time, as is the way these days, do you think this has been a fair sentence?
Probably, yes. We'll have to see if there's going to be any appeal. But a 30-month sentence when it could have been worse probably sounds a fair and balanced decision. He'll serve half of that because if he behaves himself, then he'll qualify for parole. But really, quite frankly, whether it's half the sentence, 30 months or whatever, we've seen an amazing sort of superstar in tennis fall from grace, probably as high as or a bigger capitulation as we've seen for many sportsmen. A real tragedy.
Yes, as the newspapers are describing him, he's gone from champ to chump. Can you explain what it is that he did wrong? Because it's all to do with insolvency. In other words, when you declare yourself bankrupt or you are declared bankrupt, what did he do that was wrong?
OK, I'll try and keep it fairly simple, but he was made bankrupt. He had debts at that time of £50 million, which is staggering. But when one is made bankrupt, the affairs of the bankruptcy are handled by what's known as a trustee in bankruptcy, which is an insolvency practitioner. Boris Becker is under an obligation to provide and give full cooperation. So he has to disclose his assets. He has to disclose where all his money is. And it transpired that not only was he not cooperating, but he was not disclosing some of those assets. And he was still engaged in spending money whilst he was a bankrupt. Now, usually the numbers associated with the bankruptcy are much lower, but this is a high-profile individual. And in my view, the Insolvency Service really wanted to set an example. And because of the high value of the debt and the level of expenditure when he was made bankrupt, clearly the Insolvency Service were looking to make an example of somebody, attract the headlines. And what this will do is this will send a message to others who were made bankrupt that you have to comply with the rules. You have to really abide by what your trustee in bankruptcy wants. And he failed to do so spectacularly, leading to a criminal conviction. Now, it's a rare case. One doesn't see this very often. But because of the numbers involved, and because of Boris Becker, we have seen a criminal prosecution and the extraordinary headlines that it's reached this morning.
I mean, it is a case of just trying to avoid paying your debts, isn't it, in effect?
Yes, I mean, look, he had assets. And when Boris Becker was made bankrupt, those assets don't belong to him. They belong to his trustee. So the money goes into a pot and those monies should be distributed to pay to the creditors. He was owing £50 million. And I'm not saying all the creditors would have got 100p in the pound, probably nothing like that. But if, let's say, there's £50 million of debt and there's £10 million of assets, then that means the creditors should perhaps be getting 20p in the pound as a dividend. But clearly, and the judge said it yesterday, he showed no contrition. He didn't really care. As far as he was concerned, he was entitled to spend the money as he wanted. He concealed his assets. And this has led to this disastrous scenario. I mean, in effect, he's ruined now. He had a high-profile gig with the BBC when he was at Wimbledon, but really, it's a fall from grace, which is really unprecedented.
OK, Richard Cramer, it's good to talk to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, it is. I sort of think people like him, when they've done something this wrong, and it's very wrong, they deserve to be punished, don't they? I mean, I have no... It is a big fall from grace, but I have zero sympathy, got to be honest.
So he's in jail right now, isn't he?
Yeah.
It is astonishing, and it's sad in a way that you see it in certain sport, particularly sports stars. Maybe that's unfair. You see it in others as well, don't you? People who just continually get it wrong. But the fact that he's not... Most people in his situation would have released a statement saying, deeply ashamed, very sorry, let my fans down, please forgive me, etc., and I'll take what's coming to me. But no, he is showing no remorse at all, no humility, which doesn't bode well either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.